I saw the post on Facebook about the refrigerators falling out. So, since I haven't even done my first trip, I figured I'd look into it before filling up the fridge with food. So, these little tiny screws, believe it or not, is what holds the top of the fridge. It uses this plate. This plate goes on the back of the fridge. It attaches with those. And then they put some adhesive or something that just pops right off. Didn't really do anything. But anyway, so those two screws, they hold it up here. And so they're little tiny screws, and they're just on compressed particle board. And then the big problem, I think, is that these screws that are down here, this thing should be like flat, you know, but see how it comes down like that? So all of the stress of the fridge and of the food and all the weight on this thing rides on those puny little screws holding that plate. And all of the weight of the fridge is pushing this way because the fridge wants to be level. And then so you're going down the road, once these two screws pop out, this thing just tears the whole thing apart. So what I guess I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look for a fix here. I think I'm gonna put some brackets on the back, and then I'm gonna add a strip of wood on the bottom until this is nice and level. And then that way all of the weight is just resting evenly. And then I'm gonna run some longer screws back here that go all the way to because the board they used for this thing to sit on is it's a nice board. It's ply and everything, but I mean, if it's not even sitting on it, it's not doing any good at all. So, but that's where I'm at with this. All right, so this is what I've come up with. I've added, this is all just with stuff that's laying around the house. By the way, if you guys, some advice to you, if you guys decide to do this, when you disconnect the fridge, pull it out and then maybe put some painter's tape, because as you can see, I didn't do that. And when I was moving the fridge, even though I was trying to be careful, look what happened. So yeah, I wish I would have put some tape there, but oh well, we'll touch that up or figure something out. But I got just some thin ply. I ended up needing to do 2 pieces to get the right height. And this is pretty good. It's not perfect, but we'll see once I put the fridge on there. It's pretty level compared to this board. Up here, what I went with was, I wish I had more woodworking stuff, because what would have been nice would be to put these boards here, and then to have some pocket screws going in here. But I don't do woodworking enough to have a lot of tools like that. So what I did was I pulled out a screw that was over here and checked the length, and they go into that ceiling part over a 1/2 inch. So I figured I was safe to go about that high myself. So I used one of these to drill into here, and then tap into the board up there, and I used 2 screws, and I lined that up with where this metal thing for the fridge, where it lines up, because it just might be now that the fridge ends up back here somewhere, not perfectly on there. So this way, not only is it supporting this whole piece here, but it's also gonna keep that metal piece. When I first detached it, the fridge fell back, and then I had to use a pry bar to get that thing out. So this will prevent that from happening again. And also, if I don't line up perfectly on this screw, then I'll have some meat to line up with. And then the other thing I noticed while I was in here is, like, I know I'm dating myself, but I remember an episode on The Simpsons where Springfield rebuilds Flanders' house, and they're like, no, that's a load-bearing poster. Basically, that's all we have here. I mean, this is just a piece of Luan, and that's where these shelves are. So I mean, all that's holding them is this thin piece of Luan. So while I'm in here, I'm gonna do something about that. All right, I got the straps done. I had these laying around, so a little something extra. Who knows what's on the other side of this cupboard, but at least I'll feel better about that. And by the way, earlier I said this was particle board. Correction, it's not. It's a I think it's pine. It just looked like particle board from this side because of the way it was cut, but it's not. It's a piece of pine. But all right, I'll get the fridge back in, and let's see. I'm gonna run some longer screws on this time around. There shouldn't be any wires, so should be all right. Look at this. So even with these boards that it's sitting on now, look, the holes where the old screws were is pretty much dead on. So think about that. Without this wood, this fridge was just sitting on those screws. Like, that's all that was holding it. That, and then the two little teeny screws up here. Man, that's really messed up. You know, stupid stuff like this, it's like we shouldn't have to re-engineer all this stuff. If they just would make sure things fit and slow down a little bit when they build these things, then, you know, now I have all this damage and stuff. And some of you guys, your fridge came out. It's just seriously, this is my 4th RV, and I don't know, I'm gonna try to enjoy this one, but I think it's pretty much gonna be the last. I'm getting tired of having to do all this stuff that I shouldn't have to do. But anyway, I'll get this buttoned up. Getting these screws up there is a real pain in the ass. I'm using this thing. This is like one of my favorite tools because it saved me so many times for weird angles like this. But yeah, so now with the fridge sitting naturally, you know, on the ground, on the bottom there, on the floor, these holes ended up a little bit different than the factory had them. So I'm re-drilling them. But now the nice thing is there won't be any stress pulling on it, just, you know, regular side forces from the vehicle going down the road. Oh, if I can get this in there without dropping it, that would be great. Nice. yeah, without this tool, I don't know. That would have been a hard one, maybe. I'm sure there's other tools out there, but. So I got the fridge done. There's a couple little marks down here, but I feel a lot more confident in this than the way it was. I did end up using the screws they had because I used a feeler to go, I used a drill bit to go back farther in there, and at first it seemed like it was gonna grab onto something, but I freaking messed up, and this thing moved slightly and broke the bit. So the bit's in there, but I went with another bit and there's nothing back there. There's, you know, you just have that top board and the grain is going this way. So I'm just gonna go with the screws they went with. I think that with this board that's attached to the floor now and to this one, I think it's pretty strong, and I think that it's a lot less likely to pop this top out. So, and if the top doesn't pop out, then it's likely that those will never pop out. So we'll see. I'll do an update if it doesn't work out, or I'll give an update of if it is working out. Got some other projects. I got this. I watched a teardown on this battery on a couple YouTube channels. I've had lead times before, and it looked very similar in the construction. So I thought, why not just a single one? And it was only like 500 and it was 510 plus, and then the shipping was like 20 bucks or something. And on Temu, of all places, believe it or not. So, but I bought a few things on Temu and they've been good. And then I got an inverter I'm gonna put in. I finished the TV. I got a video I'll put out on that. Just sharing what I do. I'm not an expert by any means not even in the realms of imagination, but just sharing stuff that I like to do and throw ideas out there. And I love watching your guys' videos and getting ideas on that. So